15 Ghost Towns America Forgot, where everything is abandoned. You know what's weird about America? We're really good at building things and then just completely abandoning them when they stop being profitable or convenient. Most countries have towns that are hundreds, sometimes thousands of years old, places with continuous habitation going back to ancient times. But America will build an entire city around a coal mine, or a military base, or a single factory, populated with thousands of people. And then when the money runs out, we just leave. Everyone walks away. Buildings rot. Streets crack. Nature slowly reclaims everything. And we've done this everywhere, across the entire country. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of places that used to be thriving towns and are now basically sets from a post-apocalyptic movie. Some died because the industry collapsed. Some died because of environmental disasters. Some died because the government paid everyone to leave. And a few died for reasons so weird you'd think I was making them up. So today we're going through 15 ghost towns that America built and then forgot about. Places where you can still see the remnants of normal life, frozen in time, slowly decaying. Schools with desks still in classrooms. Houses with furniture still inside. Main streets with storefronts that look like everyone just vanished one day. This is equal parts history lesson and reminder that American economic development is kind of insane when you think about it. Let's get into it. Here's why ghost towns exist and why they matter. America's development was fundamentally different from other countries. We expanded fast, really fast, and we built towns around whatever resource or industry was valuable at that moment. Gold towns, silver towns, coal towns, oil towns, copper towns, railroad towns, company towns where a single corporation owned everything. The logic was simple. Find a resource, build infrastructure to extract it, build a town to house the workers, make money, and then, when the resource ran out or the industry moved on, abandon everything and go somewhere else. This worked economically, sort of, but it created a landscape full of places that boomed for 20 or 50 years and then died completely. And because American development was so rapid and so resource-focused, we didn't build towns the way Europeans did. We built them to be functional, not permanent. So when they died, they stayed dead. Ghost towns are fascinating for a bunch of reasons. They're creepy. They're photogenic. They tell stories about economic cycles and human hubris. And they're reminders that prosperity is temporary and places we think are permanent can disappear faster than we realize. Some ghost towns are tourist attractions now. Some are genuinely dangerous to enter. Some are so remote that nobody goes there, except urban explorers and photographers. And some are technically still inhabited by like 5 stubborn people who refuse to leave. The towns on this list range from mostly abandoned, but a few people remain, to literally toxic, and you'll die if you stay too long. We're going from the tame to the genuinely disturbing. And every one of them has a story about why America built them and then forgot they existed. So let's count them down. Number 15, Glenrio, Texas, New Mexico. Starting with a town that died because the interstate highway system said, actually, we don't need you anymore. Glenrio used to be a stop on Route 66. It was tiny, maybe a couple hundred people at its peak, but it had gas stations, diners, motels. The classic roadside town. Then Interstate 40 got built a few miles south and suddenly nobody drove through Glenrio anymore. The population went from a few hundred to basically zero within a decade. Now it's just abandoned buildings along the old highway, rusted signs, empty gas stations, that iconic American roadside decay aesthetic. Glenrio is less creepy and more just sad. It's a reminder that infrastructure decisions can kill entire towns overnight. And then America moves on fast and doesn't look back. Glenrio died because we built a better road somewhere else. That's it. Number 14, Rhyolite, Nevada. Rhyolite is your classic gold rush boom and bust. In 1904, someone found gold. By 1907, Rhyolite had 10,000 people. By 1920, it was a ghost town. 12 years from nothing to 10,000 to nothing. What's left is actually pretty impressive. The ruins of a bank building, a train depot, a school, a bottle house someone built out of thousands of beer and liquor bottles because wood was scarce. And apparently they had a lot of empty bottles. Rhyolite is a tourist attraction now. It's photogenic. It's in Death Valley area so people visit. But it's also a perfect example of speculative mania. People rushed in, built an entire city, the gold ran out, everyone left. The whole cycle took less than 20 years. Rhyolite is what happens when you build a city on hope and geology doesn't cooperate. Number 13. Cahawba, Alabama. Cahawba was the first capital of Alabama, like the actual state capital. And then it flooded, repeatedly, and everyone left. At its peak in the mid-1800s, Cahawba had a few thousand people. It was a river port and political center, but the Alabama and Cahawba rivers kept flooding it. After the Civil War, the capital moved and Cahawba was basically abandoned. Now it's an archaeological park. You can see the ruins of buildings, streets, and the town layout. It's historically significant but also kind of eerie, because this was literally the capital of Alabama and now it's just empty fields and building foundations. Cahawba is a reminder that sometimes nature just wins and people give up. Number 12. SD. Elmo, Colorado. St. Elmo is a mining town in the Colorado Rockies that's shockingly well preserved for a ghost town. At its peak in the 1880s, St. Elmo had around 2,000 people. Silver and gold mining. When the mines closed, everyone left. But unlike a lot of ghost towns, St. Elmo's buildings are still standing. Many are in decent shape. It's a tourist destination now in summer. The weird thing about St. Elmo is it technically still has residents. Like, a handful of people actually live there year-round. So it's not fully abandoned. But it's definitely a ghost town. Most of the buildings are empty. The population is maybe a dozen people. St. Elmo is a ghost town you can visit without risking your life, which makes it less apocalyptic and more like a historical attraction with a creepy vibe. Number 11. Thurman, West Virginia. Thurman was a railroad and coal town. At its peak in the early 1900s, it had around 500 people. Now it has 5. Literally 5 people live in Thurman. The town is part of the New River Gorge National Park now. The old train depot is preserved. You can see the buildings, but it's basically empty. Thurman's decline was gradual. Coal industry automation, railroad changes. People just slowly left until almost nobody remained. And the 5 people who do live there are presumably very committed to the place, or have nowhere else to go. Thurman is a ghost town where technically people still live, but you never know it if you visit it. Number 10. Kennecott, Alaska. Kennecott was a copper mining town in the middle of Alaska. And when I say middle of Alaska, I mean remote. Like, you need to fly or drive hours on terrible roads to get there. At its peak in the 1920s, Kennecott had around 300 residents. The Kennecott Copper Corporation ran everything. Massive mining operation. Company town. Then the copper ran out and the company shut down in 1938. Everyone left. The company literally closed up shop and walked away. What's impressive is how much is still there. Buildings, equipment. It's like everyone just vanished mid-shift. Now it's a National Historic Landmark and you can tour it. But it's in the middle of nowhere, Alaska, so getting there is an adventure. Kennecott is a perfectly preserved company town that got abandoned when the corporation decided it wasn't profitable anymore. Number 9. Cairo, Illinois. Cairo isn't fully abandoned, but it might as well be. The population went from 15,000 in 1920 to around 2,000 now. Most of the town is empty and decaying. Cairo is at the southern tip of Illinois where its rivers meet. It used to be an important river port. Then river transport declined, racial violence drove people away, and the economy collapsed. Now it's a slow-motion ghost town. What makes Cairo depressing is that it's not abandoned because of a mine closing or a disaster. It's abandoned because of economic decay and social dysfunction. People just left because there was no reason to stay. And the people who remain are mostly those who can't afford to leave. Cairo is a ghost town in progress, still dying, not yet fully dead. Number 8. Terlingua, Texas. Terlingua was a quicksilver mining town in West Texas, near Big Bend. At its peak in the 1930s, it had around 2,000 people. Then the quicksilver market collapsed and the mines closed in the 1940s. Everyone left. Terlingua is weird because it's been partially revived as a tourist destination and artist community. So it's a ghost town that's kind of alive again. Some buildings are restored. Some are ruins. There's a famous chili cook-off there every year, but most of Terlingua is still abandoned. Ruined buildings, old mining infrastructure, cemetery full of miners. It's got that apocalyptic desert ghost town aesthetic. Terlingua is a ghost town that refuses to stay dead, which is either charming or unsettling depending on your perspective. Number 7. Bodie, California. Bodie is probably the most famous ghost town in America, and for good reason. It's incredibly well preserved in a state of arrested decay. Bodie boomed in the late 1800s with gold mining. At its peak, it had around 10,000 people. Saloons, brothels, murders, the whole Wild West thing. The gold ran out and people left. By the 1940s, it was basically empty. Now it's a state historic park. The buildings are maintained in a state of arrested decay, meaning they're kept from falling apart but not restored. You can walk through and see how people lived. Furniture still in houses. Goods still on store shelves. It's frozen in time. Bodie is the ghost town every other ghost town wishes it could be. Accessible, preserved, photogenic, and genuinely creepy. Number 6. Gilman, Colorado. Gilman was a mining town that got so contaminated with toxic waste that the EPA basically forced everyone to leave. At its peak in the mid-1900s, Gilman had around 300 residents. Zinc and lead mining. Then they discovered the groundwater and soil were catastrophically contaminated with heavy metals and mining waste. In 1984, the EPA and the state ordered the town evacuated. It's been abandoned ever since. And you're not allowed to go there. It's on private property, and there are no trespassing signs everywhere. Plus, toxic contamination. Gilman is a ghost town you can see from the highway, but can't visit without risking arrest or poisoning. It's a reminder that mining leaves scars that last generations. Number 5. Pripyat, Ukraine. Honorable international mention. Okay, this isn't America, but I have to mention it because it's the most famous ghost town in the world and it influenced how we think about abandoned places. Pripyat was a Soviet city built to house Chernobyl nuclear plant workers. Population around 50,000. Then the reactor exploded in 1986 and everyone was evacuated out forever. Pripyat is frozen in time. Apartments with belongings still inside. An amusement park that never opened. Schools with textbooks on desks. It's the ultimate ghost town, and it's radioactive so you can visit, but only for limited time and with a guide. Pripyat isn't American, but it set the standard for modern ghost town aesthetics. Every abandoned place gets compared to it. Number 4. Times Beach, Missouri. Times Beach is a town that got contaminated with dioxin, and the government bought out everyone and demolished everything. In the 1980s, someone spread waste oil mixed with dioxin on the roads to control dust. Dioxin is one of the most toxic substances known. When flooding spread it everywhere, the EPA declared the entire town uninhabitable. The government bought out all 4,000 residents and bulldozed the town. It doesn't exist anymore. It's a park now, Route 66 State Park, but underneath is a toxic waste site that will be contaminated for centuries. Times Beach is a ghost town that got erased. The government paid everyone to leave and then destroyed all evidence it ever existed. Number 3. Picher, Oklahoma. Picher is a lead and zinc mining town that became so toxic and unstable that the government had to evacuate it. At its peak in the 1920s, Picher had around 20,000 people. Massive mining operation. Then they discovered the entire town was sitting on top of hundreds of miles of unstable mine tunnels. Sinkholes were opening up. Plus, the lead contamination was horrific. Mountains of toxic mining waste called chat piles surrounded the town. The EPA declared it one of the most toxic places in America. The government bought out the remaining residents. By 2009, Picher was officially disincorporated. Population went to zero. Now it's just empty buildings and toxic waste. Picher is a ghost town where going inside buildings might kill you and the ground might literally collapse underneath you. Number 2. Centralia, Pennsylvania. Centralia is the town with the underground coal fire that's been burning since 1962. And it's still burning. Right now, under the town, Centralia had around 1,000 residents in the 1960s. Then a coal seam caught fire, probably from burning trash in an abandoned mine. The fire spread through the coal mines under the town. Attempts to extinguish it failed. Carbon monoxide, sinkholes. The ground got so hot that snow wouldn't stick in winter. People started leaving. By 1984, Congress allocated money to relocate everyone. The Postal Service revoked the zip code. The town was condemned. Now maybe a dozen stubborn people still live there, refusing to leave. Centralia is famous because of the underground fire and because it supposedly inspired Silent Hill. You can visit, but the roads are cracked and buckling from heat. Steam rises from the ground. Graffiti highway before they buried it. It's genuinely eerie. Centralia is a town that's literally being consumed by fire and probably will be for another century or more. Number 1. Salton Sea Area, Bombay Beach, Salton City, California. At number 1, the most depressing ghost town situation in America, we have the communities around the Salton Sea. The Salton Sea was created by accident in 1905 when irrigation went wrong and flooded a desert basin. For a while, people thought it was great. They built resort towns. Bombay Beach, Salton City, the Salton Riviera. They called it the California Riviera. It was supposed to compete with Palm Springs. At its peak in the 1950s and 60s, tens of thousands of people visited or lived around the Salton Sea. Then the water started getting saltier because there's no outlet. Fish died. The smell became horrific. The sea started shrinking. Toxic dust from the exposed lake bed caused health problems. The Salton Sea communities are ghost towns in slow motion. They're not officially abandoned, but they're dying. The sea is still shrinking. The air quality is terrible, and nobody knows how to fix it. It's the American dream turned into an apocalyptic nightmare. We created a sea by accident, built towns around it, and now it's killing the area, and we're just watching it happen. The Salton Sea is what hubris looks like when it dies slowly in the desert sun. So what do all these places tell us? First, American development has always been extractive and temporary. We build where resources are, exploit them, and move on. We don't plan for long-term habitation. We plan for profit, and when profit ends. So does the town. Second, environmental disasters and industrial contamination have created places that are genuinely dangerous. U.S. and will remain dangerous for generations. Picher, Centralia, Gilman, Times Beach. These aren't just abandoned. They're toxic, and cleaning them up would cost more than anyone's willing to pay. Third, ghost towns are warnings. They show what happens when industries collapse, when resources run out, when we prioritize short-term gain over sustainability. And they show how quickly prosperity can evaporate. Fourth, there's something deeply American about building entire towns and then just walking away. It's optimistic and reckless. We build, we boom, we bust, we move on. Other cultures might try to salvage or adapt. We just abandon and start over somewhere else. And fifth, these places are fascinating precisely because they're failures. They're reminders that progress isn't inevitable and places we think are permanent can disappear. So there you have it. 15 ghost towns that America built and forgot. Some died because the mines closed. Some died because of disasters. Some died because we poisoned them so badly that humans can't live there anymore. And some are still dying, slowly fading away while people watch. Ghost towns are creepy. They're photogenic, and they're reminders of economic and environmental realities that we usually ignore. Towns exist because of specific conditions. When those conditions change, towns die. And America has a lot of dead towns because we build a lot of towns based on temporary conditions. Should you visit these places? Some of them, sure. Bodie is a state park. Rhyolite is tourist friendly. But some of them will literally kill you if you stay too long or breathe too deeply. So maybe check first. And if you do visit, think about what you're seeing. These weren't always ruins. They were places where people lived, worked, raised families, had normal lives. And then economic forces or environmental disasters made those lives impossible. And everyone left. So here's my question for you. If your town's main industry collapsed tomorrow, how long would it take before your town started looking like one of these? What's keeping your city alive? And is that thing permanent or temporary? Because the people who built Centralia and Picher and Bodie thought their towns were permanent too, and they were wrong. Drop a comment and let me know which of these ghost towns is the most disturbing, or if I missed any obvious ones. Because America has way more than 15 abandoned places. These are just the interesting ones. And if you enjoyed this tour of American decay and hubris, maybe consider subscribing. We do cities, housing, and economic weirdness. Someone has to document this stuff. Might as well be me.